talked about being intentional about growth.
Yes.
Like you've got to flip the switch. You've got to start it. You have to initiate the growth process, because growth is the only guarantee that tomorrow can be better than today.
Yes.
So I've got to grow. I must grow. The people that God's called me to reach and to influence, they need me to grow.
Hey, welcome everybody to season 2 of the Faith Family Leadership Podcast. We're back again. We are looking forward to another year of great discussions all about leadership. I got Pastor Josh back on the pod with us. PJ, how we doing, man?
Doing great. Feeling great.
Feeling great too. Hey, listen, before we get into it today, though, I do want to take a moment and thank all of our listeners for liking, subscribing, sharing. It means the world to us to have everybody on the journey with us. PJ, how was your holidays, man?
It was good. It was good. It was, of course, we get through the Christmas blitz here at Faith Family. Great Christmas.
Great Christmas.
And then last week of the year, I always unplug.
Yeah.
Just kind of take it easy. So
eat a little bit, rest a lot.
Yes.
Prime the pumps for another year.
I did have a surgery, so it wasn't like total rest. Yeah, but it was just a minor procedure. Yeah, on my elbows.
Yeah. How you healing?
All good, man.
Good.
All good.
Before you know it, you're curling 90s, baby.
I'm feeling stronger than ever.
I like that. I like that. Well, we're gonna get started with the game.
Let's do it.
I was debating on doing this again, but apparently the listeners love it.
Oh, all right.
So we're gonna keep doing it now. This is a game that the team came up with. It's pretty simple. It's true or false. So I'm gonna read you a statement. You're gonna say true or false, obviously. Right. And this is all about sports. You're a sports fan.
I am.
Okay. You're a Cowboys fan. Did I break some bro code there by saying that?
Well, I mean, I am a Cowboys fan, but it's at the place now where I recognize what it is.
What is it?
They're great at entertainment. They're poor at execution. So I never really get my hopes up.
That's wisdom.
Yeah, I don't get my hopes up because it's sports. It is what it is. It's men that I have no idea who they are. And they're running around on a field, and in
spandex.
I want them to do well. I want them to do well, but it's just it's just been a long journey of disappointment. It used to get under my skin.
Did it?
Now the only thing that really kind of bothers me is that it's kind of embarrassing to call yourself a Cowboys fan at this point.
A bit of a stigma attached.
It is. I mean, but I'm a loyal guy.
You are.
I'm a loyal guy. I'm not a bandwagon fan.
No, you're not.
I've been a Cowboys fan since birth. That's the way we were raised to be. I did like the Oilers as a kid. Kind of took some heat from my family, and on that one, I don't know. My dad and uncles did not necessarily.
They weren't feeling.
They weren't really approving of that decision. But I liked Warren Moon.
Yes.
I liked Warren Moon in the run and shoot. And man, but again, a lot of disappointment there. But, I always root for the Texans. They're the hometown fan. I root for them. Not a big fan, but I'm a fan of Stroud.
Yes.
And Coach Ryans.
Yes.
Those guys are legit. So they're going to be good for a long time.
Yeah. Hopefully they make it pretty far playing Baltimore this
Absolutely.
weekend. So
yeah, I don't know. By the time this podcast airs, it's
going to be old news.
Yeah, it'll be old news. Yeah. But they're ahead of schedule by being in the playoffs.
It's true.
In CJ's first year.
It's true. It's true. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
All right, let's get started.
Yep.
Question number 1, true or false?
All right.
Polo, not the cologne. Polo takes up the largest amount of space in terms of land area where the game is played. Sport of polo. True or false?
Man, I'm going to say false.
You say false?
I have no clue, but yeah.
It's true.
Okay.
The sport of kings, as it's currently referred to, is played on a 300-yard field.
Wow. Wow, that's huge.
Okay, this one you may know. It's a golf question. True or false? Every golf ball has the same number of dimples.
Oh, wow. I do not know. I'm going to say false.
You got it.
I just don't see how it could have the same amount. It'd just be the precision on that would just have to be.
And they're mass producing those jokers.
Yeah.
So it's anywhere between 300 and 500. Next time you're on the golf course, maybe ask your boys that question and
get them to count them. My
get
kids were little, I'd make them count.
That's pretty awesome. Football players started wearing helmets in 1943. True or false?
I'm going to say false.
Answer is true.
I thought they were wearing like leather type things before then.
They were. This would be considered the first helmet made of moleskin in 1943.
Okay.
Doesn't seem very safe.
Moleskin.
Moleskin doesn't seem like it's great at impact absorption.
Not much between. Yeah. your brain and somebody else. Yeah.
Moving on. Brazil. True or false? Brazil is the only nation to have played in every World Cup finals tournament. True or false?
Let's say true.
You're dead on.
Brazilians love their soccer.
Soccer crazed. Every year since the World Cup, they've been in the final.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. True or false? World-renowned jeweler Tiffany & Company is the maker of the Vince Lombardi Trophy.
I'm going to say true.
You're on it. Tiffany has been producing the trophy since the first Super Bowl in 1967.
You would like this. I was just watching the highlights of the Patriots beating the Falcons, coming back. What were they? I don't know if they were down 23 nothing.
28-3.
And 28-3, yeah. And just to watch Tom on the sideline rally the troops, and then they come back and win, and I was watching him hold up the trophy saying, let's go.
So many iconic moments in that game. The Julian Edelman catch.
That dude. This got a great story.
He's got an incredible story.
I mean, he struggled. I mean, he was on the cut. I mean, he was right there on the cut line for 3 or 4 years.
Well, in college, he played as a quarterback, and not a great one.
Yeah.
And then when he came out of the combine, Bill drafted him, and he played, I want to say he played like cornerback first for the Patriots on the practice squad.
He played a little bit of everything. He played defense.
Yes. Yes, man.
I mean,
Julian Edelman's the man.
Yeah.
He's the
MVP
man.
of that Super Bowl that I was just talking about.
It's not one without him.
No.
It's a sick game. True or false? There are 30 NFL teams. True or false?
False.
Yep. How many are there?
32.
Look at it. Come on, podcast listeners. Put the hand clap
or 32
emoji in the comments.
Thank
True
you
or
very
false?
much.
The New York Marathon is the largest in the world.
Largest is amount of contestants?
Yes, contestants.
I would say true.
You're on it. The race started in 1970, and when it started, it had 127 runners.
Yeah.
This past year,
how many thousands?
51,933 starters.
I wonder how many people finish.
51,402. So there was about 531 people that didn't make it.
Yeah, to go through all that trouble and then get signed up and travel there, and then you didn't even make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not your thing.
No, I think at that point you need to go back and consider some stuff.
You're just kind of overestimating your own ability.
You're better than you are.
Yeah.
I mean, the part of me is like, no matter how bad it gets, can't you just walk it out unless there's, I guess, a cutoff time?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. Injuries too.
Yeah.
Someone blows out an ACL at a water station.
No, that sounds terrible. Sometimes I've ran a couple of races before, and some of the worst things you have to navigate is just like stomach stuff.
Yeah.
You're not really used to eating and running at the same time.
Dehydration and stuff, things that happen.
You don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, true or false? 3 strikes in a row in bowling is called a chicken.
I have no idea. I'm going to say false.
Bro, you're on it. It's called a turkey.
Yeah, I can't. Oh,
which is even funny.
I was like, they wouldn't use a barnyard animal for a terminology, but I guess turkey's pretty close.
Yeah, it is close. Poultry.
Yeah.
An astronaut. True or false? An astronaut has played golf on the moon.
I'll say true.
Bro, you're killing it right now.
It just seems like something I'd want to do.
Yes, it is true. A guy by the name of Alan Shepard. I wonder if he's kin to Brian Shepard.
I doubt it.
Me too.
I was just like, I wonder how far you could blast something like that.
He said that the ball went on for miles and miles. You probably feel like Tiger Woods over there, bro, just beaming that joker.
I don't know how you swing with that suit on, though, man. That would be amazing.
Okay, only got a couple more left. True or false? The Tour de France always finishes in Italy. True or false?
False.
Man, you're good. The finish line, I'm going to botch this pronunciation, but the finish line is in the Champs-Élysées, which is one of the most famous streets in Paris.
Yeah,
where it finishes.
Why would you have a Tour de France end in Italy?
I know, right?
Yeah, I think Italy's a little bit further than away than you'd want it to be.
The Italians hate me right now for how terrible I pronounce that word, but it is what it is.
The French.
The French.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all over the place right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Soccer is estimated to have more than 2 billion fans around the world. True or false?
I'd say true.
It's actually false. It's 4 billion.
Okay. I would say it was a lot.
It is a lot.
And 2 billion sounds like a lot.
Yes, it is.
It's the most popular.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say you're not one of the 4 billion?
Totally safe to say that. And it's not because I have anything against soccer. I mean, it's just we didn't play soccer. Like when I was a kid, there weren't soccer leagues like there are now. Like little Johnny's out there playing soccer, running around. Oh, it's so cute. No, we didn't do that. I don't know if our parents were too smart to not like endure the pain of watching that.
Yeah.
I've watched some soccer matches for kids. It's
when
not
they're
cute
young,
to me.
When they're young, they play like what they call flock ball, which is all of them just chasing. It's like ants on a piece of candy.
Yeah.
Once they get a little bit older, it becomes more entertaining. And the only reason
I could see
know
that.
is
Sure.
because Jackson's played for the last 4 years. And when it first started, I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
But we've weathered the storm a bit.
Yeah.
And as I've learned
Basketball's
more
like
about
that too, though.
Yes.
Then you start seeing the kids that have some skill.
It starts getting fun.
They keep playing, and the other kids, their parents are like, yeah.
I knew nothing about soccer. We didn't grow up knowing much about soccer either.
No.
And it wasn't until Jackson started playing that I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll have to learn.
It's obviously a big money generator. I mean, it's a big deal.
Huge.
So, I mean, big respect for people that play. I mean, it's a lot of endurance and skill to be able to do that with your feet.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I put Jackson in. We started in T-ball, and that was just a train wreck. We were just kicking dirt clods in the outfield. I was like, well, if I'm going to have to go to practices, at least I want him to run enough to be tired when we get home. I need to get something out of this.
I see what you're doing there.
Out of this. All right, last true or false question. True or false, the Baltimore Ravens will win the Super Bowl?
I'm going to say true on that. They look tough, man.
They do look tough.
They're tough, man. These guys, they're good on both sides of the ball. Lamar Jackson, obviously a great quarterback. They are Harbaugh.
He's a beast, bro.
He's consistently good. He's consistently good.
Yep.
So,
yep. Would you say, in your opinion, that the Ravens are better than the Niners?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they already beat them. I think pretty handily this year. So it's I think that they've proven to be in the regular season.
Yeah.
The best team, but I don't think they're going to pull a Cowboys or a Dak and not show up in the playoffs.
Yeah. I feel like Baltimore's a little bit more established too. Like the 49ers, I think there's a lot of hype surrounding them. They got more Pro Bowlers on their team. But I think that the Ravens have a little bit more stability when you think about their coaching. Yeah. And when you get into that playoff run, that becomes more and more important.
And they just seem to have an identity which has been around for years. I mean, you go back to the Ray Lewis days. They just have a tough guy, tough defense, just cold weather, the fans. I mean, it's just
I used to despise the Ravens as a Brady fan.
Yeah, man. They're
Ray Lewis just eating our lunch every time.
Suggs. Ed
those
Reed,
guys just deer antler and destroying.
Yeah,
dreams,
they are not to be played with back in those days.
No. Well, we could keep doing this, but let's move on to the real reason that people.
All the sports fans enjoy it. Yes, all the non-sports fans are fast forwarding through this right now.
Yep. I do want to switch gears though, and I want to talk a little bit about this thought of defining our development.
Yeah.
Now, at the time of this recording, it's January of 2024, and we know that this time of year naturally lends to a lot of people setting goals, trying to reach goals, all of that. They have great intentions, everything from physical goals. Gyms are probably more full now than they will be the rest of the year.
No doubt.
Even spiritual goals. Right now, we're right in the middle of 21 days of prayer and fasting. I'm sure people may be even thinking about growing and developing their own leadership. But one of the things that I think we both have realized is oftentimes the dreams of January can become the failed resolutions of March.
Oh, sure.
If you don't have a plan in place. And for many people, I think they have a lot of hope going into the year, but they're trying to figure out how to turn that hope into something.
Yeah, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. It's just however you plan out your life and however you take your day to day. That's really where the secret's found.
Yes, and I was thinking about this a couple weeks ago. You were sharing in our staff meeting. And I love our staff meetings, especially the first one of the year. What I found, whether it's by intention design or it's just kind of morphed into this, is oftentimes that first staff meeting of the year, you share something that becomes the theme of our team for the rest of the year.
That's right. No doubt.
You challenged us this year to define what development looks like for us as a staff and even individually. And what I want to do with our listeners today is I want you to unpack that for us.
Yeah.
Of course, I know we'll get into some of the practical because that's just how we're wired and the purpose of this thing. But before we do that, one of the things that really stuck out to me was at the beginning of your teaching, you actually provided some definitions for development, some definitions that I haven't really heard.
Yeah.
And for me, it really kind of opened up my mind to even thinking about it a little bit differently than maybe I have before.
Yeah.
So I'd like to start by your definitions of development, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Yeah, and I took these actually just, from the dictionary.
Yeah.
But it does help to give context to the word itself.
Yep.
Development can be defined several ways, one of which is that it's this act of improving by expanding or enlarging or refining. So it's an action that brings improvement. It brings expansion. It makes something more refined. Those are good thoughts. It's also the process of which, you think about developing photos. It's the process of which, you develop photosensitive material. And oftentimes that's done in the dark, obviously. That's something that's done behind the scenes, so the light isn't on that. So the development of our lives is really done in the hiddenness of what happens in our day-to-day, and just our own mind, our own actions, our own habits. It's another definition is it's a process in which something passes by degrees to a different stage. It's making something more complex, stronger, making it more useful. So those are just a few that I threw out there for people to kind of get a picture of. Because I like to have words paint a picture.
Yes.
For me, so it causes me to think about it in different ways. So I was trying to do that with the team, and then hopefully with the listeners today, they kind of get an idea of what this development concept is really, what it looks like.
Yeah. Well, that thought there of developing in the dark, that really resonates with me.
Yeah.
Because I think many people, we want to see progress in the light. We want it to be platformed. We want to feel like we're ready for whatever maybe God brings next, or the next opportunity, or fill in the blank for whatever it is in the area that we're developing. But oftentimes it's the hard work that is done in secret that no one knows about that positions you and platforms you to rise to whatever the occasion is.
Absolutely. Yeah, everybody wants to play well on game day. Not everyone wants to practice hard.
Totally.
And practice is really, I feel like I live in a world of practice.
Talk about practice.
Yeah.
You want to talk about practice?
There is something to it about, I'm the guy though that the church has really done more than we ever thought it would. When you look nationally at the averages, it's the top 1% of what God's doing in churches it's happening right here at Faith Family. So size, reach, impact, salvations, baptisms. This is not normal.
Right.
When people are in it, they're kind of, it's normal. It's my church. I love my church, and we're grateful for that. And I don't need everybody to know the price that we pay behind the scenes, but there's a price being paid behind the scenes. Totally. And I've been the guy that for 9.5 years, I've had my nose down, my head down, just really grinding it out and trying to get better.
Yes.
And steward what God's given me and bring increase to what God's given me.
Yeah.
And that requires effort. That requires a lot
discipline,
more perspiration, more than inspiration.
Yes.
So it's something that I embrace. It works in my personality. I don't need the lights.
Yeah.
I find a lot of joy in just kind of grinding it out. I'm just that guy. Just little by little.
When it's like, I can say this, it started way beyond 9.5 years ago.
Yeah.
You and I, we've had the privilege of knowing each other for long beyond that. It's got to be, let's see, I was 17.
I went to Victoria in 2005.
2005, and it's 2023. So what? Or 2024. So that's got to be approaching
19 years.
19 years. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it?
I remember from being on staff to even just being a student in our church, being part of the youth group. I remember you were always dedicated. Even when I started serving on the staff in Victoria, I remember coming in, and I'd be coming in at different times sometimes, I was single, sometimes I'd sleep in a little bit. Didn't matter what day it was, you were always in at a certain time. I'd walk by your office and kind of look in there and try to jack with you a little bit, and you'd be there, head down, working, leaving at the same time, even then.
Yeah.
So before you got to the 9.5 years at this level,
That's true.
You were in the dark preparing for that opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think that's what can be so easy. And we can look at it with athletes and everything else about all the work, guys like Kobe, Jordan.
Nobody worked harder than those guys.
Nobody worked harder than those guys. And yeah, they're the greatest, but they're also paying the greatest price.
Yep.
There's a price to be paid.
Yep.
So you've unpacked the definition of it a little bit. What are some of the big areas as you go into this year thinking about your own development? What are some of the big buckets that you look at that say, regardless of the season, these are the big buckets that I want to see development in this year in my life?
Yeah. Well, I for the team, there were 5.
Yes.
And they all start with the letter C. It's a disease that pastors have. But the first is my character. So I want to grow in my character. Secondly, calling, what God's called me to do. Third, competency, how I do what I do. Yeah. Chemistry is another area, and I want to grow there because it's who I do it with.
That's good.
You know, and then the culture, it's kind of like what we're doing it for. We're doing it for, obviously, the kingdom, but I want it to have a certain feel to it.
Yes.
That's life-giving, and it's joy-filled. So, you know, those are the 5 that I mapped out for myself this year.
Yes. And you've encouraged our team to do it the same thing. And when you're thinking about that and you're mapping out these big 5 buckets, are you putting some goals and metrics there, or how are you deciding? Like when you think about, let's just take, for instance, character.
Yeah.
You're saying this is an area in my life this year. I'm going to grow in this area. I got these big 5 buckets. I'm assigning some specifics to each bucket, I'm assuming.
Yes.
What does that look like, if you don't mind?
Yeah, well, I think goals are great. I think, obviously, we've talked about that, and I think they need to be specific, measurable. They need to be attainable, relevant, and timely. So I try to consider all those factors when I'm creating goals. But when it comes to like character, because I'm always wanting to grow in my character.
Yes.
I think, you know, your gift will get you on the platform. Your character will keep you there.
It's good.
So I want to keep my character strong. I want to grow in Galatians 5, the fruit of the Spirit. That's kind of my go-to.
That's good.
For character, because I mean, fruit of the Spirit is the character of Jesus.
Yeah.
And the Holy Spirit produces that in us. So love, joy, patience, peace, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. I want these things evident in my life. So that when you set a goal like that, it is somewhat subjective.
Sure. But
you know, time in the Word, time in prayer, these are things that I'm mapping out daily. Journaling has become a habit.
Yeah.
Where I will actually journal my thoughts for the day. I don't do it every day, but several times a week. I have a 10-year journal.
Okay.
And I'm just writing down kind of a synopsis of the day, a summary of the day.
Yeah.
And it helps me, even when I write, I'll write in there where I missed it that day. And like, hey, missed it here. I was short here, or I was impatient here. And what that does is it makes it more real.
Yeah.
I just don't discount it. I was having a bad day. Because if I start journaling that and I'm seeing that happen,
becomes a theme.
If it starts happening in a consistent manner, well, usually it's because time in the Word's not being taken seriously. Maybe I'm not talking to God and expressing what's in my heart like I should and getting that out of me. Maybe I'm not receiving the Father's love in the way that I should, because 2 Corinthians 3:18 says that we are transformed as we behold Christ. So that as I behold Christ, I become more like Christ.
Yeah.
So there's something about in my imagination when I sit and I just contemplate on who Jesus is and his love for me and his character, then as I'm looking at him, my life begins to look like his. I mean, you can get into the scientific world of mirror neurons and the things that happen in the brain just when we watch each other and how we can imitate an intended action that we see someone else take. Because if I was to take this cup of coffee and I was to bring it over here to my mouth, you already know what's happening as I start to lift it. Like you're drinking it.
Yes.
So that's an intended action. But if you wouldn't think I was going to drink this coffee and then just throw it on you.
I wouldn't think so.
That wouldn't make sense. So obviously there's an intended action to it. So when you look at the life of Christ, the ministry of Christ, you start seeing the intended action that he was taking as a leader Yes, he is the Son of God. Yes, he is fully God. He is fully man. That's the whole hypostatic union, two natures forever, separated, but he is one. And he is Jesus. And I'm like, there's something there when I look at him, then my life starts to take on that rhythm, that personality. And that's how I view it. That's how I view it. And I think that's how leaders should view it.
Yes.
Because it takes it out of this world of I'm just trying to be a better person.
Yes.
That isn't even in my mind. I'm not just trying to be a better person.
What does that even mean anyway?
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. Usually that means I got to try harder.
Yes.
But if that's the motivation, if the ought tos and the shoulds is my motivation, I'm gonna burn out.
Well, that's where the failed resolutions come.
Absolutely,
because it's dependent on you. And guess what? We're gonna take an L.
Yeah, absolutely. So even when it comes down to things like personal, like physical fitness, I mean, I take that back to the Word. Paul says our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit. Yeah. So I want to give God a good house to live in. I want to give him a healthy house to live in.
Yeah.
Because, when I'm 80 years old, I don't want to just be an invalid. I want to be somebody that's actually enjoying life.
Playing with your grandkids.
Yes. And if people need me if they want me to speak and preach, I can do that. If I can consult and mentor other pastors, I want to do that. But I want to have kingdom impact even into my latter years.
I love that.
So, so it even goes down, physical side. It even comes back to this.
Yes.
Of what happens, just spiritually, intellectually, in your soul realm, all of that works together.
I love the intentionality behind it because I don't get a sense from you that you're burdened by the future or that you're panicked about it, but you are putting intentional things in your life that are preparing for that. It goes back to what we said. It's that whole thought of developing in the dark. Well, one day when you're 80 years old and you want to be running around with your grandkids and you want to be making a kingdom impact, you're sowing seeds today that either will or will not create that harvest later on.
Totally. I heard John Maxwell say this recently. He was speaking of his mentor, John Wooden, and he was talking about John Wooden, the great basketball coach at UCLA. And he was talking about the principle of every day we give God, or we give life, we give God 100%. And then the next day we build on the floor of what we did today.
So good.
So John Wooden would tell his players, hey, listen, you're not giving me 100%. Well, coach, I had to break up with my girlfriend. Coach, I'm having a tough time in the classroom. And what John Wooden would say is, hey, listen, you give me 70% today, you're leaving 30% on the table because you can't do 130% tomorrow. You can't do 100. There's no way. Like when people say it, I'm going to give 110%. No, you're not. There is no way that you can give 110. Give 100%. That's possible.
Yeah.
But to give 110, nobody can do that.
No, it's the same thought of like, hey, I'm going to work 25 hours a day. I was like, well, that doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's not possible. The sun stood still only one time as far as I know.
Yeah.
And that guy's, the guy's name's Joshua in the Old Testament. I haven't heard of that happening too many times. So since then. So my thing is like, I want to give it 100% every day. And I'm not going to tell you I do every day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to paint that picture that I'm some kind of, machine. But that is the goal. That's the standard.
Yes. But just carrying that standard alone, even on the days that you miss it, just the fact that you're carrying the standard gives you a place to come back to. And also probably means that even though you may have not hit 100%, you are further along than if you wouldn't have instilled that discipline or that standard in your life.
Yeah, no doubt.
You're naturally just going to be further ahead.
Yeah, it's a system. Again,
Yes.
That's the system that you come back to.
Yes. So I love the 5 C's. Once somebody has maybe begun to unpack these, which I love the thought of using the fruit of the Spirit as almost like the roadmap or the guide for this thought of character. I thought that was a great ad. Once you've kind of began to maybe define some of these areas you want to develop in, okay, that's exciting. We're feeling good about that. We've got our areas. Now, how do we switch gears and start actually put in some practical ways to implement that? You gave some thoughts to our staff.
Yeah, I talked about being intentional about growth.
Yes.
Like you've got to flip the switch. You've got to start it. You have to initiate the growth process because growth is the only guarantee that tomorrow can be better than today.
Yes.
So I've got to grow. I must grow. The people that God's called me to reach and to influence, they need me to grow. My family needs me to grow. My wife needs me to grow because, who I've been up to this point has been enough to pay the price. But tomorrow's price is not the same as today's price.
Yes.
It's going to be there's more there. There's something else there that I've got to be willing to do to get to where God wants me to be. So I want to be intentional about the growth because this life we're living, it's not a dress rehearsal. We're in it. We're live now. We're live right now. And our future is worth it. So I have to initiate that process. And despite what I feel, I mean, feelings I think are important. I think that but I think that they govern too many lives.
Yeah.
Too many people are led by their feelings instead of intentional action. And it's just always a recipe for disappointment.
Yes.
When you live feelings first.
Yes.
Actions first, feelings follow. That's the way you live. They're the caboose, not the engine.
Yeah.
And if you get the engine moving in the right direction with your actions, your feelings will follow. They always follow.
Yes.
So that's how I see that about being intentional. Another thing I mentioned, and I think this is important for all of our listeners, you got to know yourself to grow yourself.
So good. Self-awareness.
Self-awareness. Like, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What motivates me? What moves me? I start looking at things like, am I being too concerned about looking good in others' eyes? So like self-awareness, where am I? Where do I feel like if I feel something, let's say I feel anxious.
Okay.
There's a reason for that. There is a reason for that. And I have to go back and say, okay, what is causing this? What is it in me first?
That's important, that in me part.
Not what's happening out there, but what is it in me that's causing this anxiety? Because anxiety is the misuse of a God-given imagination. So I'm imagining that something's about to happen that hasn't happened, but fear is starting to motivate.
Yeah.
And then when you start getting into that realm, and if you stay there,
dangerous.
You'll burn bridges with relationships. You'll abandon God-given dreams and plans, and it's just not where you want to live. So got to know yourself to grow yourself. But and that's a tricky thing for us because it's hard to look in the mirror and see something that you don't like.
Yes.
I mean, there are things about my personality that I do not like, that I feel like, okay, that's not where I want to be. And usually it's in the realm of your strengths, because your strengths can be your greatest weakness. So I'm an intense guy. I've got a level of intensity about me that causes it serves me very well.
Church isn't where it is today. Obviously, God played the biggest role in that, but without the intensity of the strength, church probably isn't where it is today.
Yeah, going back to intensity, this is kind of an interesting thing. I heard Jerry Jones say this the other day. Now, say what you want to say about Jerry Jones as a football guy.
Yeah,
that he's worthy of a lot of criticism on that. But as a business guy,
dude's a G.
The guy in marketing, I mean, the guy has created a brand that is by far the most profitable in all professional sports. It's not even close.
Not even close.
So, but he said back in the early days when he was in business, he had a meeting that he wanted to have with the owner of the Howard Johnson hotel chain. That was a big deal back in the day, Howard Johnson. And he was talking to Howard about the guy that owned Howard Johnson about his restaurants. He said, man, you must have to hire the best chefs. And the guy came back and said, no, you don't have to hire the best chefs. He said, intensity will cover up a lot of things that aren't as good. And what he meant by, and he said, so I got to have the hottest coffee. If something's supposed to be hot, I'm going to make it the hottest it can be. If something's supposed to be cold, we're going to make it as cool and refreshing as it can be. And it just caused me to think about intensity in a different way. I don't know if that's helpful for anybody other than just a random fact. When I heard it, though, as an intensity guy, I was like, okay, so not all intensity is bad, because it will take you further.
Totally.
Yeah, it will take you further at times. So I've always been a focused guy. So all of that works for me. But where it doesn't work for me is when intensity gets to the point where I start living out of a place of feeling hurried and rushed and pushy. That's where I've learned, and I have learned over the last, several years of being more focused on this self-awareness piece.
Yes.
that it's helped me to say, okay, back off right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's too much.
Mm-hmm.
You need to chill.
Which goes back to you being intentional with your growth.
Absolutely.
Because now you're not trying to put that off. Because how easy would it be for you, with whatever situation is, to blame everybody else or to blame the situation and take no ownership of it? But you're not going to grow that way. The only way you grow in that is if you own the process and the part that you play in it.
We live in a world that's defined by deflection. Everybody's got a reason for why they do what they do. I did that because you did this to me, or I'm this way because of what happened to me. You know, hey, here's the reality. Life sucks. Life's not fair. People are unkind. People don't treat you right. People are wounded and they wound others. I mean, things happen. You know, it's not, God didn't promise us this easy life where everything's going to go the way we want it to go. I mean, he said there's going to be blessing, but he never said there wouldn't be a battle.
Totally.
There's going to be battles. And sometimes the biggest battles we face are the battles within, the battles in our mind, the battles to be able to say, you know what, I didn't do that right, and I was wrong in that, but that doesn't mean that's who I am. I can learn and grow from this.
So good.
So, you know, I don't know why I'm as intense as I am. You know, I mean, I could look back at my childhood and different things, and people do that, but I don't know if that's really all that helpful. I do think it is helpful.
Maybe insightful.
Yeah, but I can't live there.
Totally.
And I can't drive a stake in the ground and say, well, this is just who I am. And if you love me, you just got to accept me for who I am.
Yeah.
Well, okay. God loves us, but he loves us too much to leave us the way that we are. And good people in your life have the same mentality. They love you, but they don't want to let you stay there.
Yes.
So you got to be willing. I've learned to receive from people, my counselor, my wife, teammates here at the church, leaders in the church, that mentors in my life. I mean, I've been the beneficiary of a lot of good people that have had the courage to speak to me in a way that brought the best out of me.
Yes.
And I didn't turn them off.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't shut them out.
Yeah. I love the thought of know yourself to grow yourself. It just, as you're sitting here sharing some of the insights that you've learned about you, I can't help but think how many people are out there listening to this podcast right now and they're like, I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some practical tools that could even help somebody start that journey. We use the Enneagram.
Yeah. That's a good tool.
Pretty popular. It's a good starting spot. Strength Finders.
That's another great one.
It's a great start. You initiated that with our team. God, must have been 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a great place to start. But I think where the rubber really meets the road once you've cleared that is the reflection part. Because you're going to get insight that way through the Holy Spirit that you would never get through a test or an assessment. And then I think something that was valuable that you said was the people that you got around you.
Yeah.
You've given people the opportunity and the openness to speak to you.
Yeah.
And to share things that they see with you, and then you do something with it. And I think for those that are hearing this, know yourself to grow yourself, start somewhere and then build on that.
Yep.
And that reflection piece is so good. Another one that you shared that I want to spend a moment unpacking because I love it, especially for younger leaders, was the manage my own mood.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking to myself on that one.
Yeah, you got to manage your mood because your thoughts direct your life. I mean, this is biblical.
Yeah.
I mean, the writer of Proverbs tells us very plainly to guard your thoughts and watch your thoughts because your thoughts direct your life.
Yeah.
And if you allow yourself to go anywhere you want to go with your emotions, it's going to lead you to a bad place. So growth happens in a life-giving environment, in a faith-filled environment. So you have to be mindful to really watch where your moods are taking you. And that's an inside job.
Yes.
That's an inside job. No one else is responsible for how I feel. There's not one person on this planet other than myself that's responsible for how I feel. I choose to feel.
Yes.
So, I mean, you just have to learn how to arrest some of those, emotions that sneak in there and recognize, hey, what's this being motivated by? I was thinking the other day, I shared this with some of our staff just the other day. Every Sunday afternoon, I go home, and there are times as I'm driving home, after preaching 4 times, that my mind will start messing with me. And I'll start putting myself down, second guessing myself, and it usually has something to do with what I did on the stage and how I communicated. And sometimes thoughts of shame, and I start maybe negative self-talking a bit, and then it's really become a habit now. There's a certain place stop sign that I come to that I put all that to bed. And the thought that's helped me with that is what thought or what spirit is motivating these thoughts in me. The Holy Spirit's not going to motivate me to be ashamed.
Yeah.
Not to the point where I'm self-deprecating, putting myself down.
Yeah.
I mean, no, he might correct me. And there are things that he may show me that I can do better, but he does it with a
gentleness.
There's a gentleness there. There's a lot of love there. I mean, Jesus spoke the truth in love.
Yes.
Paul instructs us as believers to speak the truth in love. So God's going to speak the truth to me, but it's going to be an environment of love that I can receive and accept, grow, and learn from. So that's where I think when you find yourself feeling funky, you've got to recognize, okay, what is motivating this?
Yeah.
Am I trying to get my own way? Do I not feel valued? I mean, people don't value me. I mean, welcome to the world. Not everybody's over here hyped on you.
Yeah.
There are going to be people that treat you poorly.
Well, we live in the world of the participation trophy.
Yeah, I mean, but people are going to treat you poorly. I mean, so what is it? You going to start treating yourself poorly?
Yeah.
Are you going to believe that? Are you going to get mad at them and waste energy on them?
So good.
I mean, what are you going to do? I live in a world where people write reviews about me on Google that aren't even true.
And they don't even know you.
They don't know me. And if I sit there and I read it and laugh. Kara reads it and gets like, I can't believe you're reading that. Don't stop reading that. And I'm like, well, it is kind of humorous to me that someone feels like they've got like that much insight after never having a conversation with me, or they make a judgment about the church. It doesn't really affect me, because I know who God says I am. I know what my intentions are, and I know my motives are pure. And if they're not, I'm asking God to reveal to me. I'm always asking God, is there any element of truth in any criticism that I receive?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's
1%,
there's 1%, I'm going to own it, you know, and learn from it. But managing your mood, that is something all of us as leaders, and because whether it's at home, at work, we have to manage our own mood.
Yes.
We have to manage our own mood. I've heard, even things like simple, like ways to do this, like monitoring your screen time.
That's huge.
I mean, if you're feeling anxious, depressed, discouraged, get off social media.
Yeah. Or
at least limit that.
Yes.
Because there are studies after study after study after study shows that if you are looking at a screen, if you're constantly looking at something social media wise, it raises anxiety levels. It raises depression levels. I don't know why. Maybe it's God's way of saying, hey, listen, this isn't the way I want you interacting with the world around you. I don't know. It just doesn't work. So when I see things like that, it's like, if I'm feeling anxious, it's probably because I haven't been journaling enough. I've been on social media too much. My input, whatever I'm going to, the source of that hasn't been life-giving.
Yeah.
I mean,
great thoughts.
It's a management skill that most people don't have. And if you want to I can get nerdy about this stuff. When you look at how kids are raised, I mean, a kid's having a total meltdown and mom's just standing there. Dad's just standing there. Okay, at some point, you've got to say, hey, what you're doing right now is not okay.
Right.
And I'm not going to give you the rest of the day to figure this out. You got 5 minutes to figure it out.
Yeah.
Maybe less than that. I mean, with my kids, I was very like, hey, we're not going to do that. What you're doing right now is not okay. Yeah. You're not hijacking the environment of the whole home. You are one person that lives here. You're not the only person, and not everything. We were here before you got here. We're going to be here after you leave. So do yourself a favor and learn how to assimilate into this family. Now, I didn't use words like assimilate to a 4-year-old. I mean, obviously, it would be like, I don't have no idea what you're talking about. And that's a firm take for some people. I get it, and I'm not going to tell people how to raise their kids. I'm just saying that children learn how to manage their moods.
Yes.
I mean, that skill is learned as a child.
Right.
When you got a 14-year-old putting holes in the wall and there's no repercussion for that, then you can just go ahead and apologize to their spouse on the day they say I do and say, I'm sorry for what I gave you.
Oh man, isn't that a thought?
I mean, I'm sorry for what I'm delivering to you.
Yeah.
And I'm, hopefully they're paying for hopefully you're paying for the wedding and dinner, at least giving a consolation prize.
Well, it's such a good thought about that, managing your own mood, because it never really ends. And I just thank you for a minute for being vulnerable in that moment, because a lot of listeners are hearing that and they're thinking, wait a minute, like Pastor Josh feels that way?
Oh, totally, yeah.
But I think just knowing that is a good reminder for all of us that, listen, we got to control those thoughts. And it's probably not ever going to end. It's one of those things that we have to be aware of, be intentional with for probably the rest of our lives. Love it. So we talked about being intentional with our growth. Okay, we talked about knowing ourselves to grow ourselves, managing our mood. You had 2 more.
I mentioned learning from your experiences. Some days you win, some days you learn. And some days you're just gonna, I said suck already, so I'll say it again. So that's the third time I've said it. Some days you're just gonna suck.
Yeah.
Some days you're just gonna be like, man, I did not give God my best today. I didn't give the people in my life, my team, my family, I didn't give them my best. That doesn't mean I'm a bad person.
No.
It means that I didn't do as well as I could have. So what do? You learn from that. Yeah. You repent and you learn from that. Yeah. You keep your heart right. You keep your heart grateful for what God's done. And then you just say, God, thank you for showing me that. Or thank you for loving me enough to give me a second chance. And so you have to get out of the habit of trying to fix what you did too fast. And you have to pause, ponder, learn what created that. How can I avoid that in the future? What lesson do I need to learn right now? I've been learning lessons for 44 years now. And and the scripture talks about people that are scoffers, people that that won't be instructed. It talks about a rebellious nature. I've got to learn. And then the last thing is just being consistent.
Yeah.
Being consistent. So motivation gets you started. Consistency and discipline keep you going. So just being consistent, be steadfast. Scripture says, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. 1 Corinthians 15. That's where I want to live. Yeah. I just want to be steadfast. I don't care if I'm the most famous pastor. I don't care if I'm the most well-known. I don't care about having the biggest church. I just want to be consistent. Because one day I'm going to stand before him, and I want to hear the words, well done, good and faithful servant. And I want God to be able to say that, to me, like, well done. You were consistent. Yeah. He's not asking for much more than that. Just consistently giving our best, learning, growing, enjoying life, and just being consistent in that.
So good. Consistency is key. There's that statement, I don't know if it's Craig Rochelle or who, but where he says oftentimes we overestimate what we can accomplish in a short period of time, and we underestimate
that is so true.
What can be accomplished over a long period of time through consistency.
That's so true.
Yeah, man.
Wise words.
Very wise words. I want to thank you for your consistency.
Oh, yeah, man.
Leading this church and pastor and myself, my family.
You've been pretty consistent yourself, so
you got a good example.
You've done a great job.
I appreciate it. Man, good times. Yeah. Enjoyed the podcast. To all of you that are listening out there, thanks again for tuning in with us. We love bringing you guys fresh leadership content every month. As I said before, if this podcast is helpful for you, if you're enjoying it, let us know that. Please like, subscribe, share it with a friend or somebody that you think might enjoy it. Yeah. And as always, we look forward.
Leave us a good review.
Leave us a good review. All 5 stars. Even if you think it's only worth 4, give us a little 5.
Yeah, grace it up a little bit.
Grace that up a little bit. Because we love you. But great time with everybody today. We're looking forward to the next episode. So we'll see you guys next month on the Faith Family Leadership Podcast.